Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in Paul's first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3, verses 16 through 23. And he asks, do you know that you yourselves, he's talking to the whole congregation, that you are God's temple? Or do you think that you are your own temple? Think about it. Are we, as a congregation, are we a place where the Lord is praised and worshiped and adored? Or do we come together to make ourselves feel good, right? The church is not yours. It's not ours. You know, our church, our congregation is owned lock, stock, and barrel by Jesus Christ because he's the only one who died on the cross, gave his blood for us, and who was raised from the dead. And so he says, do you know that the Spirit is in God's temple, in his church? Because if God's Spirit is in the church, well, then the Spirit is who we should be listening to, right? And he asked, do you treat the church as sacred? Don't you know that it's sacred? The church is not just some other consumer choice or lifestyle add-on. The church is where God's Spirit dwells, where God is worshiped and adored, where God is at work. And so he asks, don't deceive yourselves. You know, if any of you think you're wise by the standards of this age, you should instead trade that in so you can become foolish like Jesus Christ. And, you know, think about the wisdom of this world, right? How is that working out for the world? Does the wisdom of this world seem to be futile and often, in fact, counterproductive? And if it's not working in the world, why do we use the wisdom of the world in the church? Does God operate by the world's wisdom, right? Does God operate by the world's wisdom? No. And if that's true, why would his church? His church doesn't operate by the wisdom of the world either. Instead, the church is to be led by the Spirit, and we are what guides us is this foolish faith in a crucified and risen Christ. And this comes because of the work of the Spirit that gives us the revelation. And so he goes on to say, you know, that God catches the so-called wise people of this world in their craftiness over and over again, and that the Lord knows that they're futile in their thinking. So he goes on, verse 21, so don't drop the boasting, okay, about human leaders. Human leaders don't mean anything. And look at the biblical witness. I mean, God uses adulterers and murderers and thieves and all kinds of reprobates to become his servants and to proclaim the gospel. And if God can lift up the very stones to praise him, then we should be really humble about our place in the church. As churches, as congregations, we should recognize, yes, we need leaders, but these leaders need to not boast. They need to be submitted to the Lord fully, because that is where the power is. It's in no human being, right? As he says, you are Christ. You're not some leader's person. You are Christ, and Christ possesses you. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.